Totally agree with you. I mean, particularly when it comes to areas like services procurement, which I feel have been underserved by the kind of legacy procurement suites, because ultimately they kind of developed out of ERP systems. So they were typically more predicated towards management of goods and materials, easy to define item that you are procuring. It's got this weight, this measurement, this number, this color, whatever it might be. Um, Quite often there'd be a complex supply chain associated with it, but it's fairly binary what it is you're buying, and you can just compare costs and all that sort of thing. The growth of services is almost the polar opposite to that, in the sense you've generally got a simple supply chain, but you've got a very complicated, sometimes difficult to define thing that you're buying, where in some cases the goalposts are going to move during the delivery of that service. So I think with that, with the complexity that exists around services procurement, this makes it even more imperative to take steps forward. Because if you look at the services that the organizations are procuring, how much of them are being measured, how much of them are being managed, and how can procurement people manage those interactions and those relationships if it's intangible. And I feel that there's definitely more of a problem in the area of services, particularly complex services, than it is in goods and materials, which is a fairly well solved problem on that side. You've got metrics, you can buy stuff in an Amazon style experience, guided buying, catalogs, etc. If you're buying consultancy, or you're buying complicated services, IT services, it's just not going to be like that. And particularly when you
Yep.
look at things like every venue's different, they've got different requirements, and no two projects are necessarily the same. So do you how do you feel, do you feel that that is an area where there is a role for technology, automation, AI, and basically anything that helps to play a part in that?
Yeah, I think you have to, because to your point, a lot of these procurement, slash purchasing systems, we're all SKU based, right? Description, quantity, price, and that's about it. And it's really hard to manage after the fact once you make those commitments, right? You may have a really good contract because you did a great job negotiating that contract. You have the subject matter expertise either within procurement or within the business to be mindful of those service elements that you need. You put good SLAs or service level agreements, clauses around what has to be delivered. And then it may end there, right? You then have to implement that into the business. You then have to have the resources to manage that. And it becomes very difficult if you don't have the right systems around that, and the complexity around that, right? And I think it's easy to say there's service-based contracts that are not complex, but I actually find the majority of all service contracts are always complex. It may be something like cleaning. Sounds very easy, right? It's an individual that has to clean. However, a lot of variables to that cleaning. How about the height? What products are they using? Is there innovation within the products that have to be used? What clauses around sustainability to meet our sustainability goals and ESGs? How about their hiring practices related to those services? And you just break down one simple component, and that was just in a 10-bit, 10-second little run, and there's way more than that. And how do I manage all of that across multiple services that are constantly changing, and the business may be constantly changing, let alone the market of the services that you're buying? You're trying to keep up with your industry as a whole. You expect your third parties to keep up with their industry. And how do you hold them accountable to that? And if you're not leveraging some sort of technology to do that, I promise you're leaving opportunities out there, and you're not really getting the best value out of that spend that you really could, and out of those relationships, because you just won't be able to do that all with your existing resources without leveraging the technology.